You're listening to the Health and Happiness Podcast with Travis Kemper and
Lauren Maxwell. Each episode, we share easy to implement strategies to improve your health, happiness, and overall quality of life.
If we could see the miracle of a single flower clearly, our whole life would change. Buddha. How's it going, Travis?
It's going well. I'm a little tired today. Didn't get much sleep last night, but the team won an amazing game last night against their rival right down the road, Rifle. They stopped them at 4th and 1 on the 1 yard line to win the game.
I don't know what that means, but yay, team!
It was very exciting and extremely stressful at the moment, but also I leave for my last vacation before Christmas today. So
where are you going?
We're up nice and early. I'm going to the woods and I'm excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, we are up nice and early. We started at 6 my time. Travis made me wake up early on a Saturday.
Yeah, well, you're up late. I was up at 4 writing notes because I'm behind at work.
Well, I was up at 5, not that much later. Actually, we were up at the same. Nope.
No.
I would have been up at 3
It's
if
okay.
I was up at the same time as
It's
you.
okay. I appreciate you getting up this early on the weekend.
Oh, thanks. That made it all worth it. So my week.
Oh, how's it going, Lauren? Sorry.
So my week was the week of school evaluations. The way school works for PTs, you typically reevaluate kids every 3 years. And I don't know what happened, but like every single one of my kids in both of my schools had like their 3 years was up this week. And so I know, I was like, when did this happen? It was horrible. So I spent so much time this week doing evaluations and then even more time writing up the evaluations.
I was going to say that makes sense because that's when you started your job. And then I realized that, no, that doesn't make sense because we've been out of school for 4 years.
Yep. Yeah, I know. And I think I don't know what happened. That I don't remember that being the case 3 years ago when I had all of these evaluations to do, but whatever. That's what people told me. So yeah, I'm glad this week is over because I'm caught up for the moment.
Nice work.
Thanks. I worked really hard this week. My brother is coming up to visit today. I don't know what time he's going to be here, but it doesn't matter because I'm already awake.
That's exciting.
And the Flagstaff Fair is happening also this weekend. So Nolan and I might do a date night at the fair, which I'm excited
Cool.
about. Yeah.
Sounds good. Eat a funnel cake for me.
Oh, yum. I will.
Actually, I get one every time I go to something like a fair, and I'm always disappointed.
Yeah, they're not my favorite.
They look like it's like
They
a
look
donut.
so
They
good.
look like they would be so good, and then I eat it, and I'm like, man, that was not worth the cheat that I just did on my diet.
Yeah, I like donuts better than I like that. I like the frosting.
Yeah, I understand.
Mm-hmm. But I could get one for you and eat one in your honor.
All right. Do it. Maybe a fried Oreo too.
Oh, yeah, that's on my list for sure. So what are we talking about today, Travis?
Well, I came across something that I found surprising this week. And I don't know much about it. So just a preface. Apparently, the samurai, which, were like some of the most fierce warriors ever, out of Japan, apparently they arranged flowers regularly, and they really appreciated flowers as part of their, I don't know what you want to call it, their practice, if you will, in their life. So they weren't just these hardened warriors. They also just took this time to appreciate flowers. And yeah, I thought that was interesting. So I found something that says the samurai viewed each arrangement as a reflection of their own mortality and believed this communing with nature purified the heart and mind. More specifically, generals found the practice cleared their minds and calmed their emotions before making big decisions on the battlefield. So they arranged flowers in a way to help them conquer their enemies.
That is crazy. I mean, you would never like, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I would have never thought that these like fierce warriors before battle would like sit down and arrange flowers. Like that's not the prep that I thought a typical samurai would do. That's cool.
No, me either. I think it's similar to like if a UFC fighter is, sitting backstage knitting before his fight. I would be very surprised. And good for him if he's doing it,
Yeah.
but I would just be surprised. So when I read that, I said, I wonder if there's any research behind this to demonstrate that flowers actually have a benefit. So I started looking and found some
Sure
stuff.
enough.
Yeah, sure enough. There's some research that flowers improve our health. So we're going to go over that now.
Yeah, so one of the first articles that Travis had found was talking about how smelling roses, or at least in this study, it was more like a scent of a flower. I don't think it was the actual flower, but how that can help memory retention. So this was studied in 2 6th grade classes. For each class, half of the students were randomly assigned to a test and half of the students were randomly assigned to a control group. This was kind of assessed or their memory was assessed just through basic like spelling tests. So they had 4 separate sets of German to English vocabulary pairs over the course of the experiment. And the vocabulary sets were introduced to all students during school lessons without any of this like odor cue. So once they were introduced, then they started the experiment. There were 4 separate conditions. One was none of the participants received any odor cue, so any of that rose smell. The second condition was test participants were exposed to the rose fragrance as an odor cue during the vocab learning periods at home, and then again during the vocab test at school. The third condition was participants received the rose fragrance during the learning period at home, as well as every night the week before the test. And then the fourth condition was they received the odor cue during the learning period at home, every night while sleeping at home, and then again during the vocab test. So that, I feel like wording that is a little confusing, but what they found was that the odor cues given at night showed improved memory and learning, and with some indication that there was a further performance benefit when the same odor was cued during the actual test. So those last 2 testing conditions where they were given that cue at night as well as during their learning period were the most beneficial for performance. But the last one in particular, where they gave that rose fragrance again during the test, showed an even further performance benefit. So sounds like smelling the roses can help your memory.
So yeah, so smelling, especially before bed, smelling the roses can help memory retention. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I found another summarization of a couple studies that found that flowers upon presentation to women always elicited a true smile. I don't know how you measure a true smile, Lauren. Do you know?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I think it has something to do with like, does your smile lift your eyes?
Okay.
It's like you can smile without your eyes.
So now you have to smile with your eyes because they make us wear a mask everywhere. But you can't see my teeth anymore. But what they also found that is more relevant to me is that women who received flowers reported a more positive mood 3 days later after receiving the flowers consistently.
That's more relevant to you.
That's more relevant to me.
Get your wife some flowers.
Well, I don't know what a true smile means. So I can't make sense out of that one, but I can make sense out of they reported a more positive mood 3 days later.
Yeah.
A second study said a flower given to men or women in an elevator elicited more positive social behavior than other stimuli. Which that's interesting. Giving flowers to men.
Well, and also just an interesting like testing condition in an elevator specifically.
I mean, you've never been in an elevator and thought I should give that guy a flower?
No, I don't think I've ever been given a flower either in an elevator.
Well, neither have the researchers, but they really wanted to be given a flower in the elevator. That's why you do these studies, is so that people give you flowers in elevators.
There you go.
Another one found that flowers presented to elderly participants elicited a positive mood, an improved memory. Again, another improved memory. These are participants that are 55 and up. They called these elderly participants. 55 is pushing the borders of elderly.
Yeah, that's not what I consider elderly.
But that's who they studied, and they found improved mood and also improved memory. They found immediate and long-term effects on emotional reactions, mood, social behaviors, and even memory for both males and females.
That's a pretty
So
cool
lots
study.
of evidence on memory, which is important to a lot of people.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd like to remember stuff.
No kidding. And if I had known that during PT school, I would maybe, have remembered things better.
Invested in some flowers.
Yeah. And not only would it have lifted my mood and made me like hopefully less stressed, but it would have helped me with my actual learning. Who knew?
Maybe I'm gonna add this to my morning or my evening routine.
Smelling some flowers.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get actual flowers, or are you gonna get like a what do you call that? Like oil diffuser thing?
Oh, I don't know what that is. So I would probably get actual flowers. I thought you were going to ask me if I was going to get actual flowers or fake flowers. And I was like, Lauren, I don't think smelling plastic helps.
No, that's why I said the like the thing that like diffuse. I don't know. You just make a scent happen in your house. That thing. I have those.
I found another summary of some science, multiple
of science.
Yeah, well, it was multiple studies that they were summarizing, and we have access to the whole studies. But basically, they found that flowers in your hospital room improve healing. Smelling flowers can improve your energy and also improve your performance in everyday life, especially in your work life.
Yeah.
Which that's some pretty cool stuff, honestly.
Yeah. Another thing I think in that summary had said that it improves your perceived quality of life too, which is
yes, it did. And somehow I forgot to put that in there.
That's okay. That's why you got me.
That's right. To improve my perceived quality of life.
All of these are like huge benefits that, I mean, I guess if I thought about like what it feels like to smell a flower, I maybe would have come up with some of these, like quality of life, mood, stuff like that. But I don't know that I would have necessarily like been like, oh yeah, it improves healing. Oh yeah, it improves energy. Oh yeah, it improves memory.
The memory is a really surprising one to me. The healing's not that surprising because if you remember back to our nature episode, if you had a tree outside of your window in a hospital, you healed significantly faster than people that didn't have a tree outside the window.
That's true. I do remember that.
And also quality of life improves if you have a tree on your street versus not having a tree on your street.
It goes back to just like nature. And
the
benefits of nature around you. And flowers are just great because you can bring them indoors instead of, I mean, like, I guess you could bring a little tree indoors, but flowers are easier.
Probably not an oak.
Is an oak big?
Yeah.
I'm too
not the pines
tired.
and Flagstaff, right?
Right. Yeah. So then after all of this research about like actual flowers and how they actually improve lots of things, we kind of were thinking about the quote, like stop and smell the roses, and what that not literally means, but like figuratively means. And it's more like being aware of your present moment and enjoying the life that you're living, which I think ties really well into our last episode. We were talking about appreciating like where you are now and running your own race rather than like trying to keep up with a whole bunch of societal expectations and whatnot. So we did find one article on appreciation, and this article goes through like a lot of different things. I'm going to try to sum it up without getting super confusing like I felt like I did when I summarized the first article I talked about. But anyway, let's define appreciation first. So appreciation has been defined as acknowledging the value and meaning of something, an event, a person, a behavior, an object, and feeling a positive emotional connection to it. So this study investigated the relationship between appreciation and positive and negative affect. And they basically controlled for gender, age, ethnicity, and what's called the big 5 personality factors. So I do not know a lot about the big 5 personality factors, but I looked it up because I was curious what that means. And it's basically an organization of personality traits in terms of 5 basic dimensions: extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness to experience. I don't know how commonly this is used. Like
in psychology, I've read a lot about conscientiousness and agreeableness and openness.
Yeah.
Extroversion is commonly used, but I don't recognize it from very many studies, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I just thought it was like interesting that like extroversion was part of a big 5 personality factor, but like introversion was, I don't know. I've seen a lot of other.
I think extroversion. Yeah. Like if you're low on extroversion, you're just are introverted.
Got it. Well, anyway, so I learned something through this study because I had no idea what these big 5 personality factors were. Anyway, long story short, the study found that appreciation accounted for 9% of the variance in positive affect versus negative affect over and above the big 5. So appreciation is associated with higher levels of positive affect, which is great, and associated with lower levels of negative affect, which makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I guess you wouldn't necessarily have to have them because you could have a neutral affect.
That's true.
But yeah, it makes sense that if you're going to improve
positive
affect, you're going to improve both negative and positive affect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So important to appreciate what you have, which is all about what stopping and smelling the roses figuratively means, is taking the time to appreciate what you have in this moment. Like, yes, you have goals, and yes, you have dreams, and yes, you're always wanting, hopefully, to improve and make progress and move forward. But I think there's so much to be said about like in the moment, also just taking the time to be like, you know what, I'm happy. I like this about my life. I like that about my life. It gives you more energy and motivation to work towards your goals. Because if you're just like not appreciating what you have in the moment, I don't know.
It's really tough to stay motivated.
Yeah.
Or if you really are just completely goal focused and only focused on your goals, you get your goal, and then what? Right? Because you get there and maybe your goal was to get a house or a new car or whatever. And then where you accomplish that, and then what? And now that makes you happy for 10 minutes. Like when you buy things, typically the studies show that you're only happy for like a minute, and then you're not anymore. You buy a new car, it's 3 days or something like that. You're like proud of this car, and then you're like, dang, oh, I got to pay for this car. Anyway, so just appreciating the little things, and nature is so beautiful. Whether it's flowers or trees or mountains or the Colorado River running through the Grand Canyon. I appreciated that.
Yeah, I bet. And I'm sure like the stars that you could see at night.
The stars were awesome.
So our big takeaway here, I think you probably have gotten the big takeaway, but it's smell the roses. Like literal, wow.
Literally
Smell-
and figuratively.
Yeah, those two words are really hard to say back to back at like 6:55 in the morning. Smell the roses, literally and figuratively. There's so many benefits to both of aspects of this quote that I had no idea. But now you know the research and the evidence. Apply this to your life and see how many benefits you can get from it.
Nice. Well, this was fun.
This is fun. Thanks
We'll
for
see
putting
you
up with
next
us.
time.
Thanks for putting up with us so early in the morning and being giggly and silly. But see you next time.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode and are getting benefits from our content.
If your life is improving in part due to the information in this podcast, we would greatly appreciate you sharing the episode with your family and friends on social media and leaving us a review so we can continue to reach more people and improve the health and happiness of the community at large.
Thanks again, and we will see you next week for another episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast.